never too old to enjoy cartoons, so today we're discussing our favorites from childhood. A new episode of Podcast Demastered starts now. Hey listeners, I'm your host Ethan Meyer, and I'm joined as always by my two very good friends Wade and Chelsea. And we got a great show today because we're talking childhood cartoons. And before we get into, our personal favorites and, lists and stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and I want to guess which kind of, network kind of fits with each one of you. So I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chelsea, I'm going to say that you were primarily a Disney Channel watcher. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily. I was actually, for most of my childhood, I did not actually have cable. So I was really into PBS and some Kids WB. And then when I got cable later on, yes, I was into Disney. But definitely a lot of PBS.
All right, and Wade,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you were more either WB or Disney as well with your cartoons?
Almost. Growing up, I was in a similar situation of Chelsea where we went several years at a time, usually without having cable. And even when we did have cable, we had satellite. So we never got the WB stations. Even though that's where all the good stuff was a lot. I couldn't watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Or any of those things because we just didn't get the channel. But when we had cable, it's really hard to decide. I don't really know, but I'm going to lean more towards Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot I watched on all of the stations, but I think there was more stuff on Cartoon Network that I didn't like compared to Nickelodeon, which was kind of a free-for-all. I was okay with most things.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that same boat. I was definitely a Nickelodeon kid. I was their prime audience for when that first started becoming a prominent competitor to the other cartoon, Disney and WB and stuff like that. Nickelodeon was kind of to use a gaming analogy, they were definitely the Sega Genesis to the to the Nintendos out there. They were more I don't know if this is the right word, but they were definitely more punk or more kind of subversive of your typical cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense. They were definitely
different.
trying to be more edgy, more after school special kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's actually a really good documentary on I think I watched it on Hulu. It's called The Orange Years, and it was about the creation of Nickelodeon and all those early concept shows and stuff like that. So if anybody's a fan of those kind of documentaries, you should check it out. It's pretty interesting stuff.
That's neat.
But yeah,
Cool.
I was definitely a Nickelodeon kid. If I had to pick one that I didn't really watch too much of, it probably would have been Disney Channel.
See? Yeah.
There's a few that stood out to me, but for the most part, I didn't really the whole Disney Channel was very wholesome in those days with their cartoons. And a lot of that stuff just didn't coalesce with me. I liked them.
To the shock and amazement of
No
the world.
wholesomeness for you.
Yeah, not much has changed. So, like I said, there were some. In fact, one of my just go ahead and tease for later on. One of my top 3 cartoons is a Disney Channel cartoon,
Ooh.
but I feel like it was kind of. It was definitely later on. It was mid to late 90s, but it was also different than what came before on a lot of how I would look at Disney's wide swath of shows. This one kind of stood out as something a little different, a little more adult, to say. And
Okay.
I think that's probably why I liked it so much. Does anybody just off the top of their head just like we could just start. Let's start with like good cartoons. We can kind of just go like round table and just starting like, even if it's just like stuff that's not necessarily, you know, it's definitely not your top three, but just like cartoons that you watched, enjoyed. Maybe not necessarily would still watch today, but you definitely liked as a kid. Chelsea, you want to start us off?
Oh, what to pick as a starting off one?
We can go alphabetical.
Oh man, I'll just throw out Rocket Power.
Rocket Power. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
like
I
Rocket
mean,
Power.
like I said, I did mainly watch a lot of PBS and stuff, and like, well, my family would travel a lot, so we would have cable then, so we'd be like, all right, let's watch something on it. So I'm familiar with some cartoons, but not all of them because I didn't watch them all. But Rocket Power, I remember watching quite a bit of, and I thought it had pretty good lessons in it, from what I recall.
One of my favorite
Good
characters in
characters,
Rocket Powers was Tito, because he just seemed like
Oh,
just like a chill dude, kind of like, you know, a little bit of
Yeah.
a party animal, you know, just I like Tito. Like he was just
yeah.
good vibes. Good
Yes,
island vibes.
that's very accurate.
See, I can't think of Rocket Power anymore without like entangling it with the Wild Thornberries.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because the art style maybe or something, but they get put in the same bubble for me, which is not a bad place to be. I loved both of those shows.
I also feel like they were kind of at the height of their powers at roughly the same time.
Yeah, I'd say that
Yeah,
too.
I would agree with that.
You know, like they were all kind of like the mid to late 90s Nickelodeon stuff, like Rocket Power and Wild Thornberries, Hey Arnold. That's like another like a big favorite of mine. Like I really liked Hey Arnold. I really liked the it just kind of like had like a coolness to it, like a kind of like a jazz vibe. I really
For sure.
dug all the characters in Hey Arnold. Actually, I mean it's kind of an outlier for me because I have a almost 2-year-old now, so I have been watching a lot of these older cartoons with him to see if like anything kind of gels. And I'm definitely trying to force Hey Arnold on him.
Now that's a
And-
show I didn't really watch a lot of, so
Oh man,
I've
it's
heard
good.
good things about it, but yeah, I missed out on that.
It still holds up surprisingly well. A lot of the arcs are like pretty timeless. So,
Nice.
and Arnold's just like, you know, he's just a cool dude, you know. It's just a cool kid. Wade, what about you? What are some, just kind of off the top of your head, just some good cartoons that you liked?
For the first one, I gotta go with Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, man.
I like one of the very first things I did when I got HBO Max was I went to Dexter's Lab and I just hit play. I just let it go. I was so excited.
Yeah, that was one of the few Cartoon Network shows that actually stuck with me. Was Dexter's Lab. Like, I don't know. I like the absurd nature of all of his like gadgets and his dopey sister coming in and messing everything up, and like the shenanigans that he would get into, and it was I really liked Dexter's Lab.
I wasn't really allowed to watch that show.
Oh no, really?
You weren't allowed?
Not really, and it was just my parents also like kind of thought it was trash. I wasn't really allowed to watch a lot of stuff on Cartoon Network, and I remember visiting my grandparents and my cousins would have it on. My grandpa would be complaining like, "Change the channel. What is this show? Get off the show." So those are my memories of that show.
Oh no, that's too bad.
I feel like Cartoon Network, more so than all the others, had like a certain like style, or like like the way that the shows kind of looked and felt. They were more what's the, like,
I don't want to.
trying to, like, they just seemed more excessive, I guess, if that makes sense.
I mean, I just usually felt they were more stupid, just flat out.
Like
Which is not always a bad thing, but you know,
like
sometimes.
they really kind of like push the boundaries on like character design and making them like more
Exaggerated.
like exaggerated and more cartoony and nonsensical than a lot of the other shows, especially on like Disney and Nickelodeon and WB. Like Cartoon Network tried to carve out its own little corner of the market.
Definitely.
And that could definitely turn off some people. Another Cartoon Network show that I really liked, it definitely came along later though, was Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I absolutely love that show. It was the old man in that show is like my spirit animal of mine.
What to say?
Of course,
You are
which is why
Eustace.
that's another no show for me.
Eustace.
Oh, my heart.
Eustace.
Stupid dog.
Stupid dog. And Muriel was just always so like naive and sweet and confused.
You know, the lady who played Muriel just died not too long ago.
I know, I saw that. That was upsetting. Yeah. It was a very simple show. It basically all took place in the same setting. It was always in nowhere at that little crap shack in the middle, in the middle of basically like a desert. Like every like storyline took place there. They never really went anywhere else. And like it was kind of like the monster of the week each episode, That was a good show.
Sure. There's so many cool like fan theories about that show these days. They're actually pretty interesting. I won't go into anything here because I'll be here all night. But because it's really a dark show.
Yeah, it is.
And a lot of the plot lines aren't terribly straightforward and stuff. But you got a spare second, hop over to YouTube and you'll be entertained for 10 minutes. It's a good time.
Chelsea, what about you? You got another one?
Sure. Jackie Chan Adventures.
Jackie!
Nice.
That was just fun.
I feel like that's a deep cut. That's definitely a deep cut. That's like a hidden gem.
Oh, for real.
It truly
yes.
is. It's
I
so
would
good.
still watch that today. I want to rewatch that show.
Gotta find out where that is.
Yep. Yeah, I was like, wait. What channel was that?
I don't even know. Jackie Chan Adventures?
That was the WB.
It was the WB?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think I have a single WB show like on my list. I didn't really watch too much.
Really?
Well, I mean, I watched stuff like the Animaniacs.
Batman? No. Oh.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. But I'm trying to think of like more like of the more.
Talking like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Sonic X.
Was it like Freakazoid on WB? And like Animaniacs.
Well, yeah, like
and
near
Pinky and
the same
Brain.
time. Yeah, like those were like with those shows. Yeah,
Yeah,
Freakazoid was.
Yeah, like a lot of that stuff. Like if it was on, fine, but it was never something I like sought out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like most of the shows on WB were just kind of like, besides like classic like Looney Tunes. Like I love Looney Tunes, and then obviously Batman. But otherwise, like I never really like went to that channel. Never really looked for any show on there.
That was my Saturday mornings, most Saturdays.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the like '80s Saturday morning cartoons still kind of like kind of bled over into my viewing habits. So I did watch stuff like Transformers and He-Man and Johnny Quest and some stuff like that. But also like I still wanted, like I like those shows, but I feel like I didn't really appreciate them at the time, and then it's nothing that I've gone back and watched since. Like I know the characters and I like remember them, but I don't really like remember them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A show that I can't remember what network it was on, but another one, a favorite of mine that I feel like it was also kind of, I want to say it was deeper into the 90s, maybe early aughts, was Recess. Like
I watched Recess.
I watched a lot of Recess. That's a wholesome show. That was a
It really, yeah,
Yes,
it's a good
it is.
show. I love that one.
that was a good show. I like that. That was good, clean fun.
See, to go in a direction that none of us have really gone in yet. And I saw a lot of people post on my Facebook about this one, and it made me really happy. Although it's more of like an older person one, like it's like an '80s show.
Yeah.
It's like an '80s cartoon, I think. But the old one, Gummy Bears.
Oh yeah, I had a Gummy Bears movie on VHS,
Same, same.
and I want to say they were fighting like an evil sorcerer that had a train. If I remember,
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like a bunch of gummy bears shooting their powers out of their stomachs, fighting a sorcerer and all his underlings on a train. I don't know. It's it's like trying to remember a dream. You know, you just get bits and pieces.
I like sing the theme song to myself every so often, and I'm just like, where did that come from? But
Yeah,
like so many people our age, they don't know what Gummy Bears is, and it makes me feel so old because I'm not that old.
I would be one of those people because I have not seen that either. So.
Yeah, well, like like it was on it. There's Gummy Bears. There was like Muppet Babies.
Yeah,
And
watched Muppet
like the
Babies.
original Care Bear show, like they were all kind of like there together, like in my heart anyway. Like
I had like
they
a
were
lot of
older.
Muppet Baby books and Care Bear books, and I'm pretty sure I had stuffed Care Bears. So
Right?
Nice.
I had a stuffed Gonzo doll for
Yeah, I had a
years and
lot of-
years, and
yeah.
I loved that thing. I was a kid who liked Gonzo.
yeah, I was definitely more of a Muppets. We were a Muppets household more than a Sesame Street household. So I had more like Muppet stuffed animals over like Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Like I was never big into like Elmo or Big Bird or Cookie or any of that stuff. Like I was into like Kermit and Fozzie and Swedish Chef and stuff like that. But actually, I've been watching a lot of Sesame Street now with my son, and Cookie Monster is the best. I mean, just throwing that out there.
Where did the cookies go?
And Oscar the Grouch. I love Oscar. So.
He's so pessimistic.
He's good people. He's good people. Man's been living in a trash can for like 50 years, you know? So he's doing all right.
Isn't
There
there
was
a
a-
whole movie about him? Like there's
about
like,
Oscar?
Sesame. Yeah, it's like
Oh, if there is, I have to watch it.
I really thought there was. I thought I remember seeing one when I was little. Oh my gosh! And deals with like other like ones
Other
like him or something.
Other
Yeah.
Grouches or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember that. Wow. Dang.
Well, I have something to look up this week.
Yes.
Do any of you guys know the show? It was on Nickelodeon, and I think it was in like the earlier days of Nickelodeon. It was called Kablam.
Kablam, like the comic book kind of deal.
Yeah, it was
Yes,
kind
I
of
remember
like
that.
it was like Robot Chicken for kids. Because it was kind of like a variety show that was hosted by like two like cartoon characters, and like it was just kind of like each segment was like a different animation style. Like one was kind of like it was almost like cardboard cutouts, and then the other one were like action figures. And
Is that like Justice League Now or something like that? Is that what?
yeah,
the...
something like that. It's like Super Force or Justice Force or something like that.
I
used
to
love that show.
love the crap out of that show. It's so that's one
Yeah.
of those shows that's really more stupid. It's not. It's
Yeah.
like here, like let us catch your attention for the next 25 minutes.
Yeah,
And there was nothing
100%.
to gain out of it. It was just a good time.
Like I don't necessarily think any of it had any sort of like meaning behind it or like thoughtful narrative. It was just
Oh,
like
no.
nonsense. It was just like
it always reminded
23
me of
minutes
like
of nonsense.
it's like All That,
Yeah,
but with not
yeah.
real people.
Yeah, it's like the animated All That.
Speaking of All That, ugh. Damn.
Yeah, All That. Like there was a lot of live action. You know, not necessarily like cartoons, but Nickelodeon had a lot of good live action shows that I used to watch a lot. Like I was big into Keenan and Kel.
You know, my sixth graders beg every year to watch Good Burger.
Really? I can't believe that's such a cult
don't know where
classic.
it comes from.
I don't either.
The first time they asked me, I was like, what did you just say to me? And they're like, can we, like, Good Burger, like the movie, can we watch it? And I was like, how do you even know what that is?
That movie has turned into, like, in the same, like, the same category as, like, a Bill and Ted and stuff like that. And, like, oh, man, like some of those, like Dave Chappelle movies or, like, Biodome. Like, it all kind of, like, is in the same, you know what I mean? Like...
I mean, I dig it. It's fine.
Yeah,
I just didn't expect 12-year-olds to ask me for that movie.
Yeah, it's somehow reached the stage of timeless. Like
I'm
when I
okay
still
with
worked when I still worked at the theater and we would do like those midnight shows for like cult films.
Uh-huh.
When we would do Good Burger, it would like sell out.
Jesus.
So, yeah. So there's something about that film that just speaks to that audience, I guess.
I really miss those shows. Those were always a good time.
Does anybody have any cartoons from Disney that stood out to them that they liked?
Oh man, I know
Disney,
like Go ahead.
Oh, the Proud Family.
Oh yeah. You know, aren't they getting a new show on Disney Plus?
Yes, and I think it comes out next year.
Oh,
And so
that's
I
gonna
think
be
it
so
almost
cool.
like picks up right off where the like original ended. And I mean, diversity in that show, good life lessons. It had humor in it. It had an interesting art style too.
It did have an interesting art style. I never watched it because I feel like it was a little on the tail end of my like cartoon watching, I guess, or at least that kind of genre of cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember the art style on it.
How about Kim Possible?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I remember I've seen bits and pieces of Kim Possible, but it wasn't anything like I think like by that time I started watching more like live action stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I was getting into the Disney Channel cartoons.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah, like it came around about the same time as like Lizzie McGuire and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like that was like early, like the beginning of like the 2000s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like early
Yeah.
2000s. Like the two Disney, or I mean, there's three Disney cartoons that stood out to me. One of them's in my top 3. The other two were DuckTales and Tailspin. Like I really liked Tailspin because it was kind of like like Indiana Jones almost, but he was a pilot.
For sure.
And then I really like DuckTales. Just like that theme song still like to this day is like stuck in my head. The DuckTales. Plus it had a really good game on, was it NES or the Super Nintendo?
I remember playing it on like the Game Boy.
Like
but it was on a bunch of different platforms though, yeah.
Yeah. It was a fun game. But I really liked that show, Scrooge McDuck just being
Himself.
capitalist.
You know, having said that, have you seen the new DuckTales?
I turned it on. I was gonna, and it was kind of by mistake because I thought it was the old DuckTales because it's just called DuckTales. So I turned it on like Disney Plus, and like the theme song was different, and I was like, "What is this shit?" And like immediately turned it off and tried to find the like older one to show Atlas. So
I mean, like, it's you know, it's not like a sequel or anything. It's like a reimagining.
yeah,
Like the triplets, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, they do not have the same voice as they used to. They have like they have their own like separate voices to tell them apart better. But the theme song is the same theme song. It's a cover, but it is the same theme song, and it's actually like it's a really good show.
Yeah, I mean it's the same like song, but it's like doesn't sound right. You know what I mean?
I say go watch about like go give it like 3 episodes or so, just to, you know, kind of get in there and like sit in it for a bit. It's actually pretty good. Like, and it's like an ongoing story too. It's pretty nice. Yeah, like you just turn it on in the background even. Like we watch it here pretty often. It's not bad.
Yeah, I remember, like, I just remember really liking the OG one that was like one of the few things that I watched on Disney Channel in those days.
Mm-hmm.
I have one. It's definitely like towards the end of, like, I think it came out like right at 2000, maybe 2001. It was a cartoon that I really liked, but it was more, it kind of like, it wasn't necessarily for children, but it also wasn't necessarily for, like, it wasn't like Beavers and Butthead kind of nonsense. It was like kind of like that preteen era of cartoons,
Mm-hmm.
And it was called Roughnecks. Anybody watch that?
Never.
The name sounds familiar.
It's Roughnecks Starship Troopers Chronicles. And it was essentially just like an animated version of like Starship Troopers.
Well, I've seen Starship Troopers for sure.
Yeah, the film, yeah. Yeah, this is essentially just like all the same characters just animated, and they just, kind of continue on in animation form from the movie. And I absolutely loved that show. It was so good. I would watch it every morning while I was getting ready for school.
Wow.
Yeah. They even came out with like VHS like tapes, and they kind of like took all the episodes and kind of like re-edited them to make them into like a film almost.
Mm-hmm.
And they just named them after like the different like military campaigns, and I had all of those. It was such a good show.
Mentioning school reminds me of the Magic School Bus.
Of
Yeah,
I
course.
feel like that is, yeah. And I feel like I definitely watched a lot of that at school as well.
Yeah, I remember watching it at school.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was a kid and I would stay with my grandparents for like during the summers. They would take me to the public library, and I would always rent like Magic School Bus on tapes and like bring them back and like watch them. Like, I love the Magic School Bus.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've turned it on recently with my son. So,
Have you watched the newer one?
No.
Okay, just all the classics.
Aren't they making a live action version?
I
want to say
sounds likely.
I want to say that either like Elizabeth Banks or like Kate McKinnon or somebody is supposed to be playing Miss Frizzle or some nonsense.
I could see both of them.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
Oh no, everything's gonna be live action now.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's definitely something that doesn't need to be live action or ever touched ever again. It's a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. And it works so well in animation form. It's a great cartoon.
Yeah, 100%. Does anybody else have any shows they actually liked that were good?
I have a weird one.
Go
Well,
ahead.
that you probably have never heard of.
Perfect. I love it.
Sagwa, the Chinese Siamese cat.
You're right.
You're
I've
right.
never heard of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
So it was a very short-lived show. I'm pretty sure it was on PBS, and it was basically about this Siamese cat who went on adventures and lived during like long ago at like a palace, a Chinese like emperor's palace, and just like had adventures with. It was like a talking cat with the other cats. I don't know. It's just fun child cartoon.
It's like a Chinese Aristocats.
I guess so. But it was I think there were definitely like, I don't know if there were history lessons almost in each episode. I remember there being something interesting about that show, but it was also just like cute. And I watched a lot of cartoons with my sisters, so I would end up watching stuff that, catered a little bit more towards them.
I'm glad that you mentioned educational, because I actually forgot about this. I used to watch a lot of
Roly
and
Poly
Bullwinkle.
Dang it. Okay.
No. Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I love Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Rocky and Bullwinkle, and then like Peabody and Sherman. Like, I used to watch a lot of that stuff as well. Like, those were good shows.
Nice.
But they definitely had like more, like history components, and also like Schoolhouse Rock. Like, I remember watching a lot of that stuff as well. But they were definitely more on like the educational side and less like the entertainment side. They were more like morning cartoons instead of I just got home from school, I want to watch some nonsense cartoons.
Wade, you were talking about Roly Poly Oly?
Maybe. I
about
pegged Ethan
PB&J
as a really
Otter?
funny- You know what? That was gonna be next, okay?
Okay. Oh, I knew it. I watched
loved,
a little bit of
I
them.
loved those shows. Those were fun.
Roly Poly Oly sounds familiar, but I can't like picture it.
Oh,
But I definitely the name sounds familiar for sure.
You're just gonna have to Google it, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got quite a list of stuff already, I guess.
It was a good time.
yeah.
Talk about like educational little kid shows kind of deal.
Right. Well, before we move on to bad shows, does anyone else have any? I was just gonna rapid fire off a few that I got here.
Okay.
Go for it.
Doug.
Yes.
Was a good show on Nickelodeon
Absolutely.
that I liked. Rocco's Modern Life on Nickelodeon as well. I really liked.
I wasn't allowed to watch that one very much
Really?
because it was like it was like Ren and Stimpy sometimes, you know. Like,
Yeah,
have you
it had
gone
a
back to watch it like since?
No, not really.
Or like how about like they did like a special, like Netflix they made like a special or something, like
Yeah,
an
they
hour
did like a
special.
film or something, like an hour long.
Yeah, well, like if you go back and like rewatch some episodes, like that show is actually extremely inappropriate.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't mean like
A lot
butt
of-
jokes and stuff like that. I mean like Rocco works for a sex phone operation.
Yeah, like there's like innuendo in some of those early Nickelodeon shows that definitely went over my head at the time, but on when you think about now, you're like, oh wow, they were really sliding that in there.
Right?
But at the time, I really liked that show. I really liked Real Monsters.
Yes.
I really liked Rugrats.
Mm-hmm. I did too.
I can't really think of too many others. Like, I didn't really like a whole lot of stuff, like I said, on Cartoon Network besides Courage and Dexter.
There was one that I really liked. It is absolutely a stupid one, but it was
What?
entertaining as hell. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
I don't think I've ever... Like, that sounds familiar, but like I said, I definitely
It's
never seen that.
it's more of a
Watch that.
stupid one. Like it's like if you look at the animation style, you're like, oh okay. But like it is so like on purpose stupid. But on the other side, like because Billy is just stupid. He's just oh god. And then you have Mandy, who's very like serious and bored and smart and dark. So she uses that stupidity for her own personal amusement.
It's kind of like Invader Zim.
Kind of. Yeah, actually, yeah. And
Because
like,
like Invader Zim's like pet or dog or whatever is like a complete dope that screws everything up.
and like between the two of them, they end up tricking the Grim Reaper into being best friends with them. So he has to stay and like cater to their whims instead of
Nice.
like going to do his job. And it's just a great time.
That sounds like it get messy.
Sometimes. It introduced the most greatest character in animation history, Fred Fredburger. If you don't know who I'm talking
Fredburger?
about, you need to go just YouTube. Fred
I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Fredburger.
I'll add it to my list.
You may, but it may be
A lot of things to
repressed.
Google.
It may be
Yeah.
repressed. I'm just going to tell you there.
Okay.
Just so you're aware.
All right, well, I'm going to move into cartoons that I didn't like that I thought were bad. I'm just going to read off all of them, and I want to see if any of you guys disagree with my my list here. So
Look
I
forward to
have Angry Beavers, Cat Dog, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Johnny Bravo, and Powerpuff Girls. I thought all those shows were awful.
I liked all of them, except I didn't care for Johnny Bravo too much.
I liked all of them.
Oh, I was like, I watched a little bit of the Powerpuff Girls, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's a good show, but all those, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
They
a
would
lot
totally
of
be
those
on
are
my
like
list.
a lot of those aren't smart shows or anything like that. They're just fun to watch.
Yeah, they were definitely almost like, for me, more annoying. Especially Johnny Bravo and Ed, Ed and Eddie were like super
Oh my
annoying.
gosh.
I'm pretty sure, I have to double check this, so listeners, definitely write in if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Seth MacFarlane got his start either writing or drawing for Johnny Bravo. So if that says anything. Like, I'm pretty sure that's where he like got his like from there he got, you know, started getting his own stuff. But I'm pretty sure he got his start on Johnny Bravo. But I absolutely hate that show. It's the worst. It's just like a one note thing all the time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's like with Ed, Ed and Eddie. Every time I like heard that show being on, I thought I was just losing brain cells. I just couldn't believe my cousins were into that show.
I almost put that show in the like weird or gross category because a lot of these side characters were disgusting. But there's definitely, I have shows on that list that actually like legitimately made me sick. Were gross.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. There's a lot of character that happens in Ed, Ed and Eddie, though. Like, there's so many different types of people in that show. Like,
yeah,
it's just beautiful.
Yeah. There's a lot going on because it's basically like it's just like a cul-de-sac of like kids.
Literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you guys have any cartoons that you thought that, you know, were bad or you didn't like, or you immediately would turn the channel if they came on?
Man, go ahead, Chelsea. I'm gonna have to think about that.
Chelsea seems very.
There's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, basically, I think it comes down to like I don't like slapstick. I don't like overly simplistic cartoons, and just I don't like anything stupid. So I also didn't like anything. Yeah.
So you don't like cartoons?
Yeah, I don't like basic cartoons. There we go. I don't like the Flintstones. I don't like Tom and Jerry. No Looney Tunes for me. Pinky and the Brain, a definite no.
You don't like Looney Tunes?
No, I thought it was dumb. I never got any enjoyment out of watching those.
It is dumb. It's the best.
No. I'm like, I was very limited.
It's violence for violence sake.
I didn't like watch that much TV all the time. Like, I was encouraged to go outside more. I wasn't gonna waste my time watching that. I don't think my parents wanted me to watch that anyway.
Oh man, I love Looney Tunes. That's such a good show. It saddens me that stuff is like heavily like censored and like changed nowadays. You know, like they have the Looney Tunes, but like they can't hurt each other and they can't have guns, they can't smoke, and they can't do this, and it's just like, what the fuck? It's not the Looney Tunes then.
Right.
Like, that's all it is. They just run around, smoke cigars, and shoot each other. And,
dress and drag.
Like, dumb.
Dress and drag and get drunk and beat each other up. Like, that's the point.
God.
You know?
Gosh, no.
And basically to a point, that sums it up.
I mean, they were my
like,
role
holy
models.
cow.
Gosh. Oh, I had different animated role models.
Yeah, oh man, I love Looney Tunes. Such good stuff. But continue with your list of wrongness.
Oh, I think some people will agree with me. Also, probably the Fairly Odd Parents kind of goes in there.
No.
You know, I watched a lot of it, but it was also just like, why am I watching this? And also, it's just so dumb and so cringy. That
era of Nickelodeon is kind of like my cutoff point. Stuff like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents and like Danny Phantom,
Jimmy Neutron.
and Jimmy Neutron. Like that was kind of like when I started deviating from Nickelodeon. Like that era of those like cartoons coming in.
Oh, my heart hurts right now.
Yeah, I knew I was probably gonna hurt your heart a lot.
No, and I understand why you all think that way. Like, I totally get it. But those were a lot of my favorites growing up. And I think it, like, a lot of my childhood was spent, like, being mature, like, out of necessity. And sometimes my favorite times of the day was when I got to sit down and watch those kinds of, like, silly, stupid shows, because I didn't have to be serious. I could just enjoy the stupidity in life. Mm-hmm. Like, Fairly Odd Parents... like, is my favorite cartoon, I think.
Really?
Not that it can't be stupid. Like, good God, I am not disagreeing with anything you're saying. But
yeah, I don't.
Sometimes it was those aspects of cartoons that allowed me to just kind of like take myself out of my life and just be a kid, kind of deal. I didn't get to do that a lot.
like I don't need cartoons to like not be stupid, because a lot of like I just think a lot of those shows, some of the I feel like the morality was kind of missing on a lot of them. Like they kind of, or like the narratives were different than some of like the earlier cartoons. Like it was more just kind of like absurd, you know, like they focused more on like that as opposed to stuff like Doug and stuff where it was more kind of like coming of age, like that. Late 80s, early 90s kind of story arcs, where like the early aughts, it was just kind of more like zany, crazy nonsense, which is fine. But that's kind of where like that's where my threshold was, and I could see like where that could turn a lot of people off too. Because it is a cartoon. There's nothing wrong with being zany and ridiculous, you know. Yeah. But I think that's where it kind of like loses some people, as it lost a lot of that like heart or like those values, I guess. Yeah,
I agree, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not hating on you, Wade. I just I just recognize it's not for me, but I definitely can see the appeal for many people, including you, who like those cartoons. And I just also, what I think is amazing about all these cartoons is just that there's the variety. And plus, I would say there's probably cartoons that I don't think are that stupid, or like kind of stupid, that you guys will be like, oh my gosh, this is the stupidest cartoons ever. So it's just
like there's like so my I didn't like list. I don't really think I have one. Because I don't remember like turning on a show and being like, oh my god, I can't. Like nothing at all comes to mind. Now, like there are shows where if I was presented an option to watch anything else, I would take anything else. But I could also just watch that show.
So you just like to watch whatever was on, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
That's good. I know I feel like there's even a couple shows that were just not really bad, but just were kind of okay. Like, you know, they existed, but they weren't my thing as much. And I feel like Digimon was kind of that in a way, because I felt like it was just like a copycat to Pokemon and stuff. And they were like, Digimon. I don't know. Might be one of your favorite ones, but
no. You know, like Digimon
is a copycat.
Kind of, for sure.
So it was kind of a mess show. Like it's not bad, but it's not like good in my mind.
Yeah, like growing up, I didn't get to watch Digimon a whole lot. It was just it wasn't something that I had access to. I had a lot of friends who did have access to it, and they loved it like all the time.
I just feel like Digimon is like the little brother to Pokemon. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I can see that. Yeah, there's a lot of those shows that's like similar like that. I feel like definitely a lot of them decide to like, be the copycat to Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
With all the collectibles and everything.
You know, even these days, like I have like characters in Digimon that I like in the show, but I can't tell you anything about it. Like, it was one of those things like, I wish I had access to it when I was little, so I like got to watch it and spend more time with it. But at this stage in my life, like I don't have time to go back and watch 8 seasons of a kid's anime. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Makes sense.
Anybody else have any bad cartoons that they didn't like?
No.
Man, I don't think so.
What about cartoons that that were gross or weird, or you didn't understand, or you know, because there was definitely the 90s had their fair share of a lot of that stuff. So, right off the top of my head, I have Ren and Stimpy and Cow and Chicken.
I was gonna say Ren and Stimpy, and Cow and Chicken would probably be on that list too.
Both those shows were just gross. The way they were animated, the hijinks they would get into, the amount of bodily fluids, and just everything about that show is just. I remember literally being sick by Ren and Stimpy as a kid. Like, I would change the channel because it would like trigger my like gag reflex. It was such a gross show.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm glad I missed out on those.
I cannot stand that show.
It's more of like an adult oriented cartoon. But
Yeah.
that was like back in the day when there weren't really adult animated shows besides like The Simpsons, but that was still more of like a family show. So like if it was a cartoon, oh well that's for kids, and then parents threw a fit because it wasn't like kid friendly. Like how dare you make a cartoon is going to like endanger my kid.
Like, I feel like Ren and Stimpy had to have, like, the inception for that show had to have been, like, a bet between, like, creators to, like, let's see how far we could push this show before we get canceled.
Oh my god.
Because that's definitely what it seemed like. Because that show just seemed like it did not care about boundaries at all.
For real.
It was... It lacked any decency at all.
No shame. No shame at all.
No shame whatsoever. Yeah, that was a gross, disgusting show. Do you guys have any? Or is it just me?
They would just go my bad, the ones I hated. Oh, those are my list. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, and I think you kind of got them for me. They're just like the gross ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were shows that I was indifferent to. You know, like after all the Disney movies of the 90s came out, like every Disney movie had like an animated show to accompany it.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I wouldn't really watch a lot of them. Like, not really. I'd watch episodes of them from time to time. But
yeah,
maybe that was one of those things like, well, if I had something else to watch, I'd probably just go watch that. And it wasn't like, oh, I didn't like the movie, so I'm not going to watch this. It was like, oh, I got everything I needed out of the movie.
Yeah.
Like this, like, and in my head, it was like, well, the stories that they're telling now are indifferent because they didn't happen in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they won't match the movie. Like, maybe it was that kind of thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, do we want to move to? We went ahead and we polled the listeners about your guys' favorite cartoons. We kind of had that up most of the week. Chelsea, were there anything on that list that we haven't already mentioned?
I think there's quite a few, and let's see. Let's start with some of these are older cartoons, so some I've never seen, but I'm familiar with them. We have Mighty Mouse, Speed Racer.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah, I remember Speed Racer. That was a good show. The movie's terrible.
The Jet.
You talk about the Zac Efron one?
No, it was
Oh, it wasn't Zac Efron. It was that.
It's Zach. It's his doppelganger.
Yeah.
It's like his Russian doppelganger.
I didn't care for like the movie as a whole, but I liked the style of it.
I like the look of it. Yeah, that's
it
a
was
movie
so
you can
like
watch on
retro,
mute.
but not at the same time. Like it was really cool, like color wise. I liked that part.
Yeah, it was like a trip. But anytime there was any sort of like dialogue or anything or characters interacting, it was awful.
Yeah, there you go.
But the races themselves were amazing.
Which I guess is the important part.
Yeah, I
I
guess.
guess so.
I guess.
Let's see. We have quite a few. Let's see. Did I already say the Jetsons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jetsons,
Okay.
Flintstones.
Jetsons.
Those old Hanna-Barbera classics.
Yep.
Yeah. Thunder the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Beanie and Cecil.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
Mr. Wizard. I
Nope.
haven't heard of those.
Sorry, people. Sorry.
Thundercats.
Oh
Yep,
yeah.
I watched Thundercats.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. We haven't talked about Darkwing Duck yet.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of Darkwing Duck, but not enough to like remember it in any. Like I knew of its existence, but that's about it.
Let's see. What else do we have?
Is Scooby? We didn't talk about Scooby Doo. I still watch
No,
the
we
original
didn't.
Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Like the OG, like Scooby Doo is still like a really good show to watch.
I think
I would agree.
Scooby-Doo and the Rugrats were like my ultimate before school cartoons.
Yeah.
Because for a long time in elementary school, I had to wake up extremely early to go to a babysitter. And that early in the morning, like that's what was playing. So that's
Yeah.
what we watched.
Yeah,
I
I,
w-
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. I remember a lot, like, Rugrats. That's something that, like, definitely was a big part of my childhood. Even though I didn't have Nickelodeon at the time, my parents bought us, like, one or two VHS tapes, and we would travel a lot to go visit our relatives for, like, it would be like a 12-hour car trip, and we had a TV in the car, and so we would just play it on repeat, like the VHS tapes, those bright orange Nickelodeon Rugrats
Yeah,
tapes.
for real, for real. I had one where they went
Those were
on
good times.
vacation, and I loved that. They'd go to like Las Vegas or something. And
They
I
had like two.
watched
They had
that
two
one.
movies that were actually pretty good.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you remember? Can you all still remember when the first Rugrats movie came out?
Yeah.
Like, do
Yeah.
you remember how big of a deal that was?
I remember Burger King had like a lot of cool like toys you can get in their big kids meals.
Indeed,
The days of cool toys and kids meals.
Yeah, exactly.
those were the days.
Yeah. I definitely saw, yeah, those first two movies. Yeah.
The first one's better than when they go to Paris.
Yeah, Paris is still a good movie though.
It's still a good one, but
You
the
get
first
those
one is,
you get those sweet moments where Chucky gets a new mom, and like that was a good time.
yeah,
The first one just a classic.
yeah. The first one's really
time.
good.
Let's see. Okay. Back to the list. What else do we have? Wade, are there any ones we haven't mentioned yet?
Well, we kind of talked about Batman the Animated Series. We talked about Schoolhouse Rock. Arthur.
Yeah. I remember
Chelsea,
watching-
you said you
I
watched a
remember-
lot of PBS. Did you watch a lot of Arthur?
Yes, I did. No, I liked Arthur a lot. Don't worry.
When I think of Arthur, I think of that bad TV pitch where he's like doing the history of Twinkies or whatever.
Classic.
Yes.
Well, I actually see a one on here that's pretty big for me, actually. Teen Titans.
Nope, never watched it.
Oh, that's too bad.
never
Teen
got
Titans was
into it,
so
sorry.
good. It was like that perfect mix of like silly goofy, but also like really serious. We have plot to do, like everybody get your crap together.
Yeah.
And then the theme song, if you've never heard the theme song to that, that's where it's at. That is where it's at.
Yeah, I never watched. In fact, I think most of the DC cartoons I didn't watch besides Batman, the animated series, like the OG. I didn't even watch Batman Beyond.
Yeah, I mean Batman Beyond was fine.
I think I
Yeah.
saw an episode or two. Yeah.
Yeah, I was more of just like the OG Batman.
OG Batman.
Kevin Conroy, man, he's the best.
Heck yeah.
Mark Hamill. I like recently. I mean, Wade, you know this. I like recently bought the entire series on my Vudu because it was on sale for like $20 when it's like normally like $100.
For real.
And when Atlas was born, like those first like 3 or 4 months, he was on like the like reverse like day night cycle, so he'd be up all night and sleep all day. So I would stay up all night with him and just watch the Batman cartoon.
Let's see. Any other ones? Let's see. Some mention of Sailor Moon. That was one I never actually watched.
Yeah, I
That's
see.
more like an anime, right?
Yeah. But you
Yeah.
know, like in
But it was
early elementary, I'm talking like for me it was kindergarten. Cartoon Network had Toonami, which
Yeah.
you know they had Toonami for a bajillion years. But at this, it was one of those stages when Toonami was right after school, like right at 3:00. And so I remember me and my oldest sister, who I was in kindergarten and she was in 5th grade. We would race home immediately. And we lived like 2 blocks from the school, so like it made life a little easier at the time. And we would watch Sailor Moon, and then Dragon Ball,
Yep.
and then
Same.
I think it was like Hamtaro.
oh
But like we had to catch those 3 shows, and we could get all of them in before our mom got home from work.
See, I would have my mom record Dragon Ball on like VHS. Back in the days when you would record shows, when you would record shows on tapes, like we would record Star Trek Next Generation, Dr. Quinn, and she would record Dragon Ball for me.
Nice.
And that was like my first introduction to Dragon Ball, was watching it on Toonami. I'd get from home from school and get off the bus or whatever, and like put that tape in and watch the latest Dragon Ball Z episode.
Oh, nice. I
was a huge DBZ fan as a kid. And I guess that was like, what, 3rd, 4th grade, something like that. Mm-hmm. It's hard to remember exactly, but man, I had all the action figures for all the characters, and I'd like play with my action figures while I'm watching the show.
Oh heck yeah!
I loved Dragon Ball Z. I remember I got a silver Goku in like one of the kids meals at Burger King. They had they were doing something there.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah. I had
the silver. Yeah, they had the silver characters for DBZ. I had a silver Goku. It was awesome.
Man, and those original action figures that they came out with, those things were so amazing.
Yeah, dude, they were awesome.
We would play with those things all the time.
Yeah, I had the entire Ginyu Force. I had Frieza. I had all the Z fighters. Dude, it was awesome. Plowing through.
Oh no, don't get started on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, there's a future episode right there. That's you say that, Chelsea. We have not brought up Dragon Ball since the 3rd or 4th episode, so
we've been keeping it cool.
Okay, I think there's probably a mention in one of those episodes in between that, but yes, you guys have been keeping it under wraps for now, but soon you'll let it all go out of a rut.
Oh, it's building up.
Yes. Oh no. Everybody be ready.
It's building.
Anyway.
Well, does that do it for the audience favorites? Which thanks for all the listeners who actually participated in the polls and actually writing in your favorite shows. We always appreciate that. Yes. Are you guys ready to move on to your top 3 cartoons?
Let's do it.
Does anybody want to go first with their number 3?
Go for it, Chelsea.
I'll go with you.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wade,
no.
You start us off.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, honestly, I think my number 3, just out of respect for my childhood, I think I have to go with Yu-Gi-Oh! On number 3.
All right, Chelsea, you're next.
That's fair.
I did enjoy the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'll give you that. So I did watch that. But moving on to me.
Yep, absolutely.
How about... Well, it is one that, I was waiting to talk about, but then Wade, you snuck it in there. It was Arthur.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, yeah.
Arthur's your number 3?
Yes, Arthur is my number 3.
You're so sweet and wholesome and just beautiful person.
Well, thank you. And the song that gets stuck in my head with Arthur is the "Having Fun Isn't Hard When You've Got a Library Card" song.
Oh
For real, that's a legit good life lesson. Seriously, get yourself a library card. If you're from your local library, you can get video games, movies, books, comics.
Yeah, speaking of that, Chelsea blew my mind months ago when she said that she rents PS4 games from her library. I didn't even know the library had stuff past VHS format.
Oh yeah, they have so much stuff. Ethan, our public library here is bonkers.
Really?
It is.
I've never
so
been inside of it.
What's your library card, Ethan?
I have I remember the library as a kid being, I guess the one in Jackson was mostly barren, so I just assume all libraries are terrible.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I've always been a fan of library, but there's definitely been upgrades. Yeah.
It's much more of a huge community hub nowadays. Anytime I go to the one here, it is full. It is packed. People use it so much. It's just so great.
And I think that almost, I don't know if I think it was still around like a long time ago, but like interlibrary loan. And so like at my library, you can like request something and your library doesn't have to have it. So like for video games and stuff, like I did actually just recently request the God of War, the 2018 game.
Nice.
So I'll be picking that up soon. And that's
Very
part of the
nice.
library that they brought to my library. So shout out to all public libraries out there, and everybody who doesn't have a library card, get one.
Go get one.
Yeah, I feel like I guess I need to reassess my values here.
And I mean, they're typically free for most people. I mean, a lot of like really rural areas, unfortunately, you might have to pay for a library card, but a lot of them are free. So,
See, when I still lived in Cape, I had a library card. I don't even remember now why, because I don't think I ever went there, but I had one. I remember where I owned a house, and I remember like paying taxes to fund the library, but I never once like went there for anything besides like going there in college if the college library didn't have a specific book I needed for like
you know,
research
the
or
college
something.
library also had movies and video games too.
Yeah,
Sure did.
I remember.
I used
I
that.
remember I remember the library at SEMO had that stuff.
But yeah,
For like,
sorry.
that's where I went for like film history to get some of the older movies to watch.
Yes.
I
But yeah,
love
don't
like
think I've
having a teacher say like, hey, you need to go to the library and rent this movie and have it done by like a week from now. So then 30 people were trying to rent one copy of the same movie, the one copy
Right.
that it had. And we'd come back in like 3 weeks arguing and screaming at each other about not waiting the whole 7 days to watch the damn movie. And the teacher's like it didn't register to the teacher that would happen. And they were like, oh,
Yep.
maybe I should just make sure there's like 10 copies in the library next year. And we were like, yeah. But then the teacher's like, well, you all could have just got together and watched the movie together. And we're like, what? No.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Oh man. I know it got us off track, but libraries.
It's a good public service announcement.
Thanks, Arthur. Thank you, Arthur, for letting us know
Yes.
that libraries are cool.
All right, Ethan, your turn.
All right. Well, speaking of cool, these four are the coolest, and my number 3 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 80s.
I was
The
about
OG
to say, it
show.
better be the 80s one.
Dude, literally everything past that show has been absolute trash.
Except for the second live action movie. Excuse you, sir.
No, I'm talking about cartoons.
I'm just talking about everything.
I'm just talking about,
We know how you feel about that movie.
yeah. I mean, Secret of Ooze is trash too, but
You can't
all
get
the
out.
Guilty
all
pleasures.
the there's been like 4 or 5 like remakes or reimaginings of the Turtles in animated form, and they just keep getting worse.
Hey,
So-
hey, Ethan, can you do me a favor real quick?
What?
There's a little microphone button down there in that corner. Will you click that for me? Just do us all.
Oh,
a
you mean
favor,
the one over you?
please. No. No.
Go
We'll just
ahead.
talk over him. Oh no.
Dude, the OG 80s Turtles show is
quite fine. Yes, you're right.
it's the best. It's literally the best. And I also had all of those action figures. And you want to talk about cool ass action figures? The Turtles.
Did you
had
have
some
the
of
ones
best.
that like where you could? They kind of transforms like the old Animorph ones into like a 4-legged kind of turtle instead of like their anthropomorphic kind. I think I had one of those.
I don't think I had any. Like, I just had the ones that were just kind of more your standard,
Like regular action
figures.
figure, yeah.
Yeah, and they just came with like a bunch of different like accessories, like, you know, their weapons, or like they had like special iterations that were like samurai turtles, or, you know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they had the van, and like Shredder and all of his different variations. Like, I had all that kind of stuff.
Oh, completely irrelevant. You know that there's like a Smash Brothers Nickelodeon game coming out?
Yeah, that's all.
They announced April O'Neil is going to be a fighter in it. I'm
I mean,
so
April
excited to
O'Neil
play this
said-
game.
They have a side-scrolling beat 'em up like the old like NES Turtles games, like Turtles in Time and stuff like that.
I
They
love
have more
that
of
game
those
so
coming
much.
up.
Yeah.
What is it called? Shredder's Revenge, I think.
Something
And
like that.
O'Neil. April
Yeah.
O'Neil is a playable character in that one. So pretty excited for that. I love the Turtles.
Right?
The turtles are so cool. Like, I can't wait for my son to get a little bit older. We're definitely gonna buy all those seasons and just blast through that show. All right, so let's move on to number 2.
Number 2.
Wade, what's your number 2?
It's gonna be another one that you all can like move on quickly from, and it's totally fine, understandable as heck. Like, I'm gonna hear Ethan's eye roll. Like, I swear, I already know it. But I'm gonna say Naruto.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent so much time as a younger adolescent watching Naruto. I remember the night still that it debuted on Toonami. I do. I still remember that. It's a big deal.
I've been trying so hard to capture my son when he runs down the hallway. He throws his arms back doing the
Oh my
Naruto
god.
run. And I've been trying to capture it on video so I can send it to you.
Oh my god, thank you.
But every time by the time I get my phone and pull up the camera and all that stuff, he's like, done, you know?
Of course.
One of these days I'm going to get it, but it's the funniest thing.
See, like, I have high schoolers who do that still. But it's not cute or endearing or anything else when they do it. It's actually quite annoying and makes me hate myself.
I can see. Yeah.
But when Atlas does it, I'm sure it's just the most brightest thing in your life.
Oh, it's adorable. It's the best. I noticed it like a week or so back, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
I always have students who
He's
ask
like
me.
screaming too when he does it.
Oh, that's even more perfect. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I always have students who ask me, they're like, oh, you like Naruto, right? And I was like, well, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, I bet you did the Naruto run too. And I was like, no, I didn't, because that wasn't a thing until you all got here. And they're like, no, like, everybody's always done that. I'm like, no, we did not. We did everything in our power possible back when we were that age to not let people know we watched stuff like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even if we did do that,
that.
TikTok didn't exist for others to know that we did do it. So
we were ashamed of ourselves and we liked it.
yeah, exactly. We did that in our bedrooms with the doors shut. So.
There you go, Chelsea. There's something out of context you can capture for later.
Yeah,
there we go. Yes.
There's a sound bite for you.
I was like, no, I never watched that show, but I was friends with guys who did, and they would try to get me to watch it, and they would give me like the manga as gifts and stuff. So. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I watched it, because I have, I guess, still currently all the manga. So when it finally came out in English, like when the show came out in English, I remember how much of a big deal it was. And I was like, I'm already ahead of it because I already have like, I don't know, like the first 15 issues of the manga or whatever it was at the time.
So you know what's gonna happen. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had all the answers to the questions.
The Oracle of Naruto.
Yep, I could spoil everything for everybody after that first episode. I was
cool
not
person.
popular.
Oh.
You should have charged people for like predictions.
Oh god.
made a racket out of it.
Because that was a lot of like back before the internet was like a huge major thing too. So you didn't have Wikipedia and Google at such a convenient place all the time.
Speaking of childhood internet days, did anybody ever go to Nickelodeon.com and play all the games based off the TV shows? Because I did that all the time.
I don't think I did that for Nickelodeon, but I did do that for a lot of the Cartoon Network games.
Yeah, Cartoon Network also had a lot of like the games were better than their shows.
Sometimes, yeah. Teen Titans had a legit like arcade fighter. It was like a Flash game, but it was like a legit arcade fighter. It was so hard, but so fun.
Yeah, a lot of those games were just like either like beat 'em ups or like, I think there was one that was like I think it was like an Ed, Ed and Eddie, but it was like a rock fight or snowball fight or something.
Oh,
like
it was a
that.
snowball fight. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
Just blew my mind.
All right, Chelsea, what's your number 2?
Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Kim Possible.
Kim Possible.
My number 2. I mean, she's amazing. She's awesome. Okay, also, like, I was into her style, her cargo pants when she, like, was in her, like, spy gear. I got cargo pants because my cargo pants were never as cool as hers. The naked mole rat. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't she have a pet weasel or something?
Well, that was Ron had Rufus, the naked mole rat.
Okay.
So, yeah. There's just fun songs fun villains. I mean, I think it's also funny, her like grappling hook was her hair dryer, all the weird inventions she had. Created by the 12-year-old genius or whatever.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was getting ready to ask. Did she
named
make all
Wade,
this?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he made it all. But I watched the movies too.
Isn't there a live action one?
We don't talk about that.
Hey, we're all bringing up terrible things in our beloved series, so Wade had to bring up Secret of Ooze, so.
Yeah. I honestly have not seen it because it looks dreadful, but yes, it did come out a year or two ago on Disney Channel as a DCOM movie, so.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. And next, Ethan.
Moving on.
All right. Well, speaking of Disney Channel, this is my favorite Disney Channel cartoon, Gargoyles.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
That is still one of the like best cartoons like to this day that I've seen. Like I love all the characters. I love the writing. I love the animation is very much in the same vein of like Batman animated series, like that same kind of like art style.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the like storylines and plot arcs are more adult than like kid friendly, I would say. The villains in that show are amazing. And I also had every single action figure for that entire series for all the characters, villains, and they had amazing action figures as well. So, but that show, it's also on Disney Plus. I'm like rewatching it with Atlas, and it still holds up today. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen Gargoyles, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's amazing.
It's got a great voice cast too.
Yeah, it's very good. I guess we're moving on to our number 1 favorite, Wade.
It shouldn't really be much of a surprise, but for my number 1, I picked Fairly Odd Parents. It was my happy place.
Yep, I can see that.
Simple as that.
I'm honestly, all right, I know we're not completely finished yet, but I'm surprised that a few shows haven't been mentioned yet.
Or are you going to say SpongeBob SquarePants?
I was not.
Oh, I was going.
No, the
I
iconic
was a little surprised. Yeah.
show. I don't think it's even been mentioned at all by name.
There's 2, I would say, iconic shows from that time that haven't been mentioned. I didn't mention them on purpose because I assumed that each of them would be on your top 3 lists.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be on Wade's. So
what do you
it's
got?
not on mine.
What do you got?
Spider-Man.
Oh.
You know what? Story time. I have never actually watched much of the animated Spider-Man stuff. I've seen
Same.
I've seen portions, I think, probably of most of the shows. But none of them really stuck to me.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, the OG Spider-Man is really good.
Talking about like the 60s one?
No, I mean, I guess it could
The
be
90s
OG,
one?
I guess.
Yeah, or 80s one, I think.
Like the late
The one
80s.
that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was just Spider-Man, and then they did the Amazing Spider-Man shortly after. It gets kind of convoluted because there's like multiple iterations, and they're all different and different animation styles, but they're all basically called Spider-Man or the Amazing Spider-Man. So it gets kind of confusing. But...
For real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't bring it up in the early on in the show. So I was like, oh, this is definitely going to be on Wade's top 3. I'm not even going to bother.
No.
We'll talk about it later.
I understand your surprise, though.
Yep, that's a surprise. There's also another iconic, but I'm assuming it's on Chelsea's list. And if it's not, then that's pretty crazy to me too.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know if it is, so we'll have to mention it afterwards. But maybe it is, but I don't think it's the one you're thinking of. So,
probably not.
I mean, I had a PBS show on my list. I had Disney Channel, so this one was on Kids WB.
Okay, no.
X-Men Evolution.
Oh, sweet.
Evolution.
That's a
Yes,
good one.
X-Men
That's
Evolution.
great.
Oh my gosh, it's
No.
amazing. I absolutely love this show. It is so quotable. I've enjoyed watching it with my sisters. I have seen the show so many times. I still watch it today. I love the characters. The animation is pretty good for its time. I mean,
Rogue and
I
Storm
wish it was
forever,
still on.
man. They're like the best characters on that show.
I'm always just a Jean fan too, but I love Kitty. And
So no love
I mean, I love them all.
no love for the original X-Men?
so I never watched that when I was a kid. I watched that probably within the last 10 years, and I did like that, but no, X-Men Evolution is where it's at. That's just...
Yeah, see, X-Men Evolution was the bastard version of my X-Men, so that's why I never liked it. Because it just seemed like a yeah, it just... By
No,
that
the
time,
weird-
like, for me, growing up, it was like, all right, the good one just ended, now they're doing it again, and it's, like, slightly worse. And
No,
I've
the
tried
one that was
rewatching
worse.
the original X-Men, and the reason it's not on my top 3 list is because of Storm and Rogue, because their voice acting is awful. I can't stand Rogue at all, period. I cannot stand that hillbilly that Cajun nonsense voice. It's the fucking worst. So...
No, the other X-Men show that came after X-Men Evolution, which I honestly cannot remember what it's called. It might have just been called something X-Men. The one that was on Nickelodeon. It lasted a season. It was like 26 episodes, but it came
Legend.
out much later than our childhoods. Yeah, and it had a different... I think they actually dealt with like the Phoenix saga, Dark Phoenix saga, but with Emma Frost wasn't... Yeah. I own it on DVD, but anyway, because I own all the X-Men stuff on DVD.
Awesome.
I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, it makes sense because I feel, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that you've seen Evolution before the, like the early 90s one, just based off, like, your childhood, but, man, that early one, like, for its time, like, I remember I had, my first cell phone, my ringtone was the X-Men theme song from that show. Like, I was that guy.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Very cool.
Like, I still like that show, but yeah, there's definitely characters in it that just are like cringe for me, so I just can't. It's not the most rewatchable, but I do really like that show.
I would recommend watching X-Men Evolution on Disney Plus because they actually have it all. However, I haven't watched it all on Disney Plus to notice if like all the differences, but there are differences. They change stuff from when it
Wait.
originally aired and what was on their DVDs.
Did they try and make it better?
They don't need to change perfection. No, it's like some of the music. I don't know if it was like copyright issues or something.
Most
But there's
likely.
like certain scenes and it's just like that music changes everything. Or like I think there's like a part where I think Kitty gets like attacked by Sabretooth, but they like cut it so you can't see that it's like slightly violent. And I'm like,
Disney, come on.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. But I'll make a whole list later of comparisons between the two versions. Eventually.
I will look forward to that. All right, so my number one is probably obvious. Do you guys want to take a guess?
No.
I don't think I have a good guess.
Yeah, I feel like I'll get it wrong.
Well, I'm fine with that. You guys are usually wrong for me anyways.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, well, how about you just say it then?
Batman, the animated series.
There we go.
I still think that's probably one of the best cartoons ever made.
Oh, so it's kind of ironic. You like hate Harley Quinn, but that's where Harley Quinn comes from.
I don't hate Harley Quinn. She's just not. I'm not watching stuff that's solely
For her.
based on Harley Quinn, where she's the lead. She's a great, secondary character. I don't need her too much in the spotlight. And there are episodes where she takes more center stage, and those are fine. But I don't like her as like the main voice of anything.
It's too bad.
But yeah,
she's a great solo character these days.
Yeah, that's what everyone says, and I still disagree.
Well, I think that's because your only like stance with her is seeing her in the original Suicide Squad, and then in Birds of Prey. But like in the comic
really
world, though, she's just it's a whole other thing in the comics. Like she's such an individual character now. Like she's never with the Joker pretty much anymore.
Yeah, I didn't think she hasn't been. I don't know. Her characterization I find off-putting and annoying because she's the type of character that I just don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like the Joker is a perfect foil for Batman because he's his opposite,
mm-hmm.
but Harley is just Harley, and there is no positive or negative to her. It's just she's just her.
Yeah.
So,
I get
no
you. I get you.
You know what I mean? So it just becomes like, I don't know. It's just kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's why her and the Joker have the relationship that they have too.
Yeah.
Because, like, Joker's more about his relationship with the Batman than he is with her.
Yeah.
And so
I think
he sees her, like, Harley just gets in the way of that a lot, even though, like, she's his kind of thing.
And I think that lack of balance and that lack of symmetry is why I just don't like her.
Maybe.
Because she's an imbalance.
For sure. Like, I mean, if you like Batman and you like Joker and you like Batman and Joker going at it, you probably don't like anything else outside of like that core relationship there. And that's a very common thing too. So like it's fine. I totally get it.
I mean, I like pretty much all of Batman's like core like rogues gallery. I just find Harley to be like too much of a wild card
mm-hmm.
in that ethos, and it's just kind of unnecessary. I find it almost.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in terms of film, like Margot Robbie, she does a great job playing that character, but it's incredibly off-putting because I just can't stand her. Just like I think Ryan Reynolds does an amazing job playing Deadpool, but I still hate Deadpool. So
you just don't like those kinds of characters, and that's okay. That's okay.
I definitely don't.
Mm-hmm.
We still love you.
Yes. So, Ethan, what was the show we didn't mention?
Oh, I was going to say, it was the X-Men. I was completely surprised that both X-Men and Spider-Man were not mentioned. They were on my list, but I was like, they'll definitely be in someone's top 3, so I'm not going to bring them up. So
I'm pretty sure Pokemon wasn't mentioned at all either.
I think there's good reason for that.
I've never actually seen the show. I've only seen them like a few of the movies.
I definitely watched like the first season, but
yeah, like
and the movie.
Pokemon is great, but like the show is the show.
Yeah.
And people like people like they like to watch Pokemon, but like it only gets so good, and like it fills a purpose, I suppose, and like that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we have it.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that's actually like of quality that we didn't mention. But if there is anything out there, listeners, feel free to write in if we missed your favorite show or a bad show that we missed, or whatever.
Disagreed with us.
Yeah, if you disagree with Wade or Chelsea, please write in.
And Ethan too.
And Ethan, more notably,
yes, more Ethan. Yes.
Ethan likes to debate, so go debate with him.
That's true. I have nothing but time. Well, I guess that's probably gonna do it for our cartoon episode. There's nothing else. You guys, nothing else you need to throw out there real quick? No last minute additions?
I don't think so.
No.
All right. Well, listeners, thanks for listening. That was our childhood cartoon show. I'm pretty sure in future episodes we'll do more adult animation and anime and stuff like that. We'll, we didn't forget about it. It's just we wanted to keep this more, PG. So be sure to like and subscribe to wherever you listen to this podcast so you don't miss out on next week's episode. And like I said, you can write in, you can leave a review. If you have, it doesn't even have to be writing in about this specific episode. If you want to write in about anything, you want to tell us what your favorite movie is, or you want to talk about games, or if you have ideas for future episodes you want us to do, we love all that stuff. If you have any comments or corrections, you can email us at demasteredpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at PodDemastered. We also have a subreddit for the podcast. If you want to go to any of our social profiles, you can also find a link for our Discord. If you want to continue the conversation with us, I love debating nonsense. So, and thanks for listening. And you'll hear from us next week.
Bye.
See ya.